Hello, everybody. Let me just get my microphone sorted here. Hello, everybody. It's Fiona Lukes, and here we are for our Friday live Q&A. This is where I go live every Friday at around 1:30, give or take 10 minutes. I'm a little bit late today, as usual, where I go live every Friday at around 1:30 just to answer any curious questions you may have about relationships, around life, around anything you can possibly imagine. This is your opportunity to ask away. Okay. Hey, Roz, thanks for saying hi. Nice to see you. Thank you. It's always nice to know that I'm not talking to myself, that there are people out there who can hear me and are listening. So if you have just joined in, feel free to say hi. Let me know where you are from in the world. Always love to know who's around. Really looking forward to chatting today. I love these sessions. Hey, Cameron. Hi. Nice to have you on the live. Thanks for saying hi. Hope it's nice and warm in sunny Queensland. Hi, Kirsten. Hello. Thanks for being here, darling. And thanks for saying hi. Now, I know where every single one of you are. Cameron's in Queensland. Rosalind's in Melbourne. Kirsten, I think you are New South Wales somewhere. Is that right? Okay, so anyone else, if you've just joined in, this is a Friday live Q&A where I answer any questions that you have around life, relationships. So anything that you need clarification around, anything that you're stuck with. Maybe you've purchased my ebook. I know, Bris Vegas. Okay, there you go. I know a lot of people have found me through purchasing my ebook, and some of you have questions around that. No question too big, no question too small. I am here to be of service and see where I can make a difference. For those of you who don't know me, I work in the relationship space. I've specialized. I have a full-time private practice, and I've been working in this niche, in this space for, 12, 13 years now. And I have a really different paradigm around relationships, a really different paradigm around the way we approach relationships, around the way we approach life, around the way we approach all of that kind of stuff. And, it's my mission to share that. I want to share that with as many people as possible, because relationships don't have to be hard. They actually can be easy, and they can be a lot more effortless than we ever possibly imagined. There is a lot of overwhelming, complicated, and unhelpful information out there, and I really want to debunk some of that stuff. Okay, so any questions you may have, feel free to ask them below. I've had a couple of people email me in some questions, so I will certainly answer those. But if you are on live, I will answer your questions first. Okay. For those of you, if you're nervous or you're unsure about posting in the comments, just send me an email. I'll get my assistant to let me know if an email's popped up and I need to know about it. Okay. So if you're wondering about preserving your privacy, you can send an email and I'll make sure I don't mention your name. But if you're happy to ask questions, go ahead and do it. And if you've just joined us live, feel free to say hi and let me know where you're listening from the world, or around the world, where in the world you are as you're listening. Hey, Brian, thanks for jumping on. Nice to see you guys. Really, really nice to see you. So, something that I was actually just on a call with a client this morning, and we were talking about, I'm Brian from A Happy Place. That's great, Brian. We were talking about what happens when we live from guilt. Okay. And I know guilt is a huge thing for people in relationships. There are a lot of people who live their lives from guilt. And one of the things I was sort of saying to her is she's just decided to make some changes in her life. She has decided to do things that really matter to her instead of putting everyone else first. And that's been a really huge step for her, because her whole life has been around putting everybody else's needs first, the kids, husbands, friends, her mum, everyone else. Make sure everyone else is okay, and then I'll see what's left over for me. And I can't tell you how many people I meet who or clients that come my way who are in that kind of paradigm, who are in that relationship. And it's a relationship with life and a relationship with you, which is where, okay, everybody else's needs come first. I take care of everyone else, and then I see what's left over for me. And on paper, that might sound great. That might sound very noble. But as I was chatting to her, I was saying, honey, the one thing we don't understand, and the students in my Relatable program have heard me say this many times, but it is something that we don't understand, okay, is that We get very, very confused with who's more important, and I'll explain what I mean by that in a moment. Hey, Mike, thanks for commenting. Meet you too. Okay, you can see what I'm saying. When we go through life, and you would have heard me say this, there's three types of relationships. Okay, there's the one with you, the one with life, and the one we have with others. And these two, the one you have with you and the one you have with life, absolutely determine what happens in number 3. So it's not enough just to deal with how you are with others. You've got to deal with these two as well. And so this is a very big part of what I teach, and I go through this in my online program, Relatable, and this is a big part of the work I do with my private clients. And it doesn't matter whether you're in a relationship with someone or wanting to be in a relationship with someone or wherever. This is across the board in every single relationship in your life. People who don't have a great relationship with themselves tend to, take things personally. They tend to overthink. They tend to worry about what everyone else thinks. They tend to come from judgment. They tend to be quick to anger. They struggle to admit when maybe they haven't handled something very well. So they struggle to say sorry. They struggle to get over themselves. That was me. They get on their high horse and they can't come down, right? If you have any of these characteristics, I can tell you right now, your relationship with you needs a good look at. Okay, and I don't say that from a place of judgment. It's just something that you want to have a look at. If you're struggling with that stuff, this will be permeating and affecting every relationship in your life, whether you're aware of it or not. How you show up at work, how you are with your kids, how you are with your partner, how you are with friends, family. This will permeate it because it's your energy that enters the room before you do. Okay, so if any of this is going on for you, you want to make it your mission to take a look at that. Because if you're wanting a sense of peace and calm and joy, and you're wanting to have different top qualities in your relationships, that has to change. If you don't change that, nothing will change, because everything is a mirror of the space and the energy that you bring. Okay. And, I had a client that I'm working with this morning, a gentleman in the States. He said to me, Fiona, I have learned so much in such a short period of time with what you've taught me. It's unbelievable. I can't believe how much I've changed, how differently I see things, how much calmer I am. And he said, I had this overwhelming thought recently and I wrote it down because I thought it was beautiful. He said, if you knew you had a problem and you could do something differently to improve your life and somebody else's life, would you do it? And he said, this is a question that has come up in my mind. If you knew you had a problem and could do something different to improve your life and someone else's life, would you do it? And he said, I didn't realize I was showing up so poorly to my wife. I didn't realize I was showing up so poorly to my family. I thought I was doing the right thing. And he said, and I've seen this, how poorly I was handling stuff. And I didn't know. I just didn't realize. But he said, that's a question that has been burning in my mind. If you knew you had a problem and could do something different to improve your life and someone else's, would you do it? And he said, that is just a resounding yes from me. And he said, and I'm so grateful that everything I've been learning with you and in your program Relatable is enabling me to do just that. I'm showing up differently to my kids. I'm showing up differently to my wife. I'm calmer. I'm more compassionate and understanding. He said, I used to pace up and down all day long. I would pace. I was always thinking I was running out of time. Everything was so urgent. He said, I just don't feel that way anymore. I can't believe the difference. Now, this is a question that I would love you to ask for yourself, right? Because people don't often ask themselves these questions. They don't often kind of look in. We're too busy looking out and then looking at all the reasons why we're right and all the reasons why we're justified and all the reasons why this is the way things are. What we haven't built is that muscle of looking in. If you knew you had a problem and you could do something different to improve your life and someone else's, would you do it? Would you do it? Would you have the courage to do it? Would you be willing to invest in yourself to make that difference? Because what a lot of people don't realize is how powerful they are. How powerful they are. It only takes one person to make a massive shift in every single relationship in your life. It only takes one. And people don't understand this. They don't understand how powerful they are. They don't understand the power of energy. They don't understand the place that they show up from. And so they wonder why the same things keep happening over and over and over again. That is no accident. You know, in life, the same thing will keep happening over again until you learn the lesson you need to learn from that. That's how abundant the universe is. The universe is infinitely patient and infinitely abundant. And so it will look at you, little human, and I call everyone little human, myself included, and it will say, oh, you haven't learned that lesson, but that's okay. I am infinitely abundant and patient, so I'm going to give you an opportunity to learn it again and again and again and again. In fact, I will give you infinite opportunities to learn that because you came here to learn something. But see, if we don't have the humility and the grace to admit there's something for us to learn, there's something for us to see, there's something for us to do. If we feel like we're a victim to everything, someone else did it to me, somebody else created that for me, it's not my fault this happened, I can't help this, I can't help that. If you're not willing to take that look inside yourself, you will keep repeating the same things over and over and over again. Because you have to understand something, and I'm going to circle back to where I started this live from. This, you know, you are spiritual beings having a human experience. And whether you're aware of it or not, little human, life is a journey of the soul first and the human second. Right? Life is a journey of the soul first and the human second. The soul wants to evolve. The soul wants to learn. The soul wants to grow. The soul loves uncertainty. What does the human want? I don't want anything to change. I want everything to stay the same. I don't like uncertainty. I want to know exactly what's happening to me every moment of every day. I don't want to be frightened by life. Don't change anything. Okay? So this is what's going on inside us all the time. The soul's like, let's go. And the human's like, no. And so this is why your relationship with life matters. Because as you develop a deeper relationship with life, you become a lot more trusting in the unknown. In fact, you find that you can rest in it. You don't have to fear it. And boy, oh boy, if more people had less fear of the unknown, how differently life would be. When you understand that you are destined to evolve, whether you like it or not, which is why sometimes a human gets dragged into situations kicking and screaming all the way. It's not because the world has abandoned you. It's not because nobody cares. It's because you are here to evolve, whether you like it or not. That's what you came here for. And you will get opportunity to do it. But if you choose not to do so and learn, you will just repeat. And I meet people who come into my practice who've been repeating for years, decades. And that's fine if that's you. But please understand you don't need to do that. You don't have to. It's not a requirement. There are ways to evolve and move past that, and it's a lot more easier, a lot more enjoyable, a lot more profound and beautiful than you can ever possibly imagine. But you have to have the courage to take that step. You have to have the courage to invest in yourself and go, I'm worth this. Because there's more on offer for you than you can ever possibly imagine. And when I say more on offer, I'm not talking about in terms of stuff or in terms of things. I'm talking about in the quality of the feeling that you get to live in each and every day or each and every moment. I'm talking about how present you are to the now. I'm talking about levels of joy, calm, well-being, peace of mind, emotional freedom. These are things that every single person who comes into my practice and into any of my programs realizes that that's exactly what they're looking for. And we think we're going to find it out here, in the house, in the clothes, in the body, at the end of an alcohol bottle, in the fridge, through drama, whatever. That you'll never find it out there. I can confidently say that because I have literally worked with people that are very, 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 very wealthy, like off the scale wealthy, billionaires. And I've worked with people who don't have much at all, right? And I can promise you, the people who have all the stuff are just as unhappy as the people who don't. It's not about the stuff. It's not about ticking the boxes. It really isn't. It's about evolving. And when you understand the way things work, and this is what I teach step by step, how we work as human beings, what it is we're here for, all of that stuff, what happens is people start to feel calmer. They start to feel less frightened of the unknown and frightened of the experience they're in, the feeling they're in. And when that happens, we show up very, very differently to ourselves, to the world, and the people in it. And that's when you see beautiful, profound shifts in people. Because you actually feel you get the freedom to choose something else. Okay, instead of doing the same thing over and over again and hoping, praying that it's going to change. It won't, little human, until you learn your lesson, whatever that is for you. Okay. Thank you, Carol. Thank you for saying that. I'm glad to hear that. Means it's obviously resonating. So thank you for that. I appreciate that. Mike, most of my day's priorities are always for those I love and care for most. And it seems the more you give, the more is taken. Of course, Mike. Of course, the more you give, the more will be taken. 100%, always. With very little time or moments returned without requesting. That's right, Mike. Now you want to ask yourself, how come that keeps happening? What is it for me to learn, right? That I keep giving and people keep taking, and I don't feel very appreciated. What is there for you to see around that, Mike? That's the question you want to ask. What do I need to learn? Because at the moment, if that's what's happening with you, you are in a pattern of repeating, okay? And it's not because there's something wrong with you, okay? It's not because you're doing life wrong. You can't do life wrong, but it's because maybe there's something you're not seeing, okay? There's an opportunity for you to evolve. Because we're always at that crossroad, evolve or repeat, always. And, you know, one of the things I love about relationships and why I'm so passionate about them is there's nothing like our relationships to give us plenty of opportunity to evolve, okay? And as well as plenty of opportunity to repeat. But, you know, when you start looking in a different direction and you have a very different understanding of how we work and what's actually going on, it becomes much, much easier to evolve. Much. And in fact, it's the only thing that makes sense. Repeating no longer makes sense. And believe you me, it's much easier to create change when something doesn't make sense. So coming back to, oh, good on you. Someone's just, sorry, I just had to block someone who jumped in on YouTube. That tends to happen. You get spammed on YouTube. Just block that person. When you're at that crossroads, when you understand what's going on, this is what's available. Things like living your life from a place of guilt no longer makes sense. Living your life from a place of anger no longer makes sense. Living your life from a place of control no longer makes sense. Living your life from compassion, from slowing down and being present, that starts to make more and more and more sense, and you become more and more drawn to it because it feels so amazing. And once you start to get a feeling of what that's like, you just want more of it. This is what my students say to me all the time, my clients. Now that I know how good I can feel, and I'm not talking about excited, I'm talking about grounded, present, calm, aware, peaceful. When people start to get a sense of that, it's like, I want more of that. And so they go to get angry, they go to get worried, they go to get stressed, they go to do the guilt thing, and they're like, no, thanks. I don't want to live in the feeling of that. I want to live in the feeling of this. And so it becomes easier and easier to follow in that direction instead of having to force yourself or fight against yourself or manage yourself or control yourself, which is such an exhausting way to create any form of change. And it's not fun. It's hard and it's scary for people, right? So there is a much easier, effortless way for you to show up the way you want to in your relationships, to put yourself as a priority, Mike, instead of everybody else, and to do so without fear of what other people are going to think or what other people are going to say, where you're honoring you, where you're so clear in your mind that it's easy to take the next step from that place of clarity. Because, you know, clarity is very, very powerful. Clarity creates conviction. And when you come from a place of conviction energetically, people will listen. They do. But when you're not sure, when your energy's a bit, you're doing this, when you're vacillating, as so many people do, then you just keep repeating. Okay? So, sorry, that is my my assistant messaging me. I'll just pause her notifications. So is this making sense? I just want to check in on those of you who are watching, and if you've just joined us, feel free to say hi and let me know where you are in the world. Always love to know where people are. Oh, this person is still, I'm just going to block them again. So it's really important. Sorry, I've just got someone spamming me on YouTube. Don't you love it? I'm just trying to block them. Okay, so if you've got any questions, let me know, okay? Let me know if this is making sense. Let me know if I can expand on anything that I have just said to you. Okay. All right. Let me just, sorry guys, I'm trying to block this revolting, and it's just giving me an error message. Okay, that one was blocked. I hope so. Okay. Yeah, so you lost my feed twice. Okay. All right. Maybe there's just a problem with the internet. Okay. So what I was asking was, how is what I'm saying making sense? Do you need me to expand on anything more here? Oh, sorry guys, I'm trying to block these comments. Hey Tanya, nice to see you, honey. I think I've blocked that person. I've got someone spamming me on YouTube at the moment. I think I've blocked them. Hi Tanya, thanks for saying hi, darling. Thanks for dropping in. So let me just check in with those of you who are listening. Is this making sense? Is this helpful? This stuff is really what I would call the foundational stuff when it comes to creating the relationships that we really want. This is where we build a relationship from the ground up instead of the top down. So you need to know these things. Number one, you need to know how we work as human beings, the psychological functioning of a human being. You need to know this stuff, right? This is super, super important. We don't work the way we've been socially conditioned to believe in. We don't. Actually, it's the complete opposite, right? So you need to know that. This is super, super important. This is what enables you to show up in a way where you start honoring you, okay? And, one of the things you've got to understand, if you're not honoring you, nobody else will, right? When you honor you, you get that reflected back. This is how everything is a mirror. This is how the world is always giving you feedback on what it is you need to learn and how you're showing up. It is not giving you feedback on right, wrong, good, bad, fault. It doesn't work that way. That's not the dimension, I guess, that we live in. It's not that one-sided. It's endlessly sided, right? So in other words, what does that mean? There are multiple ways of looking at something. There are endless realities, endless ways of seeing things. Okay, so there can never be right or wrong. There's just this version, 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 this version. Now, knowing that is incredibly important in our relationships, because when you're caught up in right, wrong, good, bad, this side or this side, you don't have many options, do you? You either agree or you disagree. And when we disagree, if we're not in a healthy frame of mind, if we don't understand the way things work, this is when we lead with our insecurities. We start talking over the top of people. We want to control people. We want to tell people they're wrong. We get angry and indignant and self-righteous, and we feel entitled to thrust our opinion all over everybody. Okay? More and more as I've looked in this direction, I feel less and less the need to inject an opinion if I'm around people or people are chatting. I'm just sitting there. I just listen because I'm listening for all the different realities, all the different ways of seeing things. This is very important in our relationships, because it's what stops you coming from a place of judgment and projection and control. Or if you're the person who shuts down and withdraws, that's another form of control, right? So, because you're trying to control the other person, you're trying to control yourself, you're withdrawing love. All of that's just a form of control, and all of that's a form of fear. So you get to show up where you're not doing that, where you don't take things so personally, where you're calmer, where you're more open, where you feel freer, where you can listen to somebody, deeply listen to somebody. That was the other amazing thing with a couple I was working with this morning. There's a deep listening exercise that I get people to do. It's in one of my modules, and they're like, I don't think we've ever listened to each other. Or they said, it's been decades since we've truly listened. I can't believe it. I thought I was listening and I wasn't. This is why we say listening is the unsung hero of connection. So there are all these different ways in which you get to show up when you have this. You get the gift of choice. And this is what I want more and more and more people in the world to have, is the gift of choice. choosing something else instead of being stuck with the same old thing of repeat, 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 and hoping it will change. Now, I'm just going to check in. If you've just joined in, feel free to say hi. Do you have any questions around what I'm saying? Is this helpful? Is there something that you would like to know more about? I'll give you a chance to let me know, to comment below. I'd love to hear from you. Let me know if this is making sense. I'm talking about building relationships from the bottom up. I'm talking about honoring yourself. I'm talking about the fact that we in life, it's the journey of the soul first and the human second. And that, the soul's here to evolve and the human doesn't want anything to change. It wants everything to stay the same. Okay. And so this is sometimes the battle we have within ourselves, right? Our intellectual ego mind, our personal mind is kind of what runs the human. It's like, no. And the soul's like, let's go, little human, right? So it's an interesting dichotomy that we find ourselves in. But once you understand the way things work, that becomes far less frightening. And it makes more sense to lean into where you're being guided to. And as I talk about with people in Relatable, it's about waiting for wisdom to speak and tuning into that, because most people are tuned out. That's a massive reason why relationships fail, why they're so hard. People are tuned out to their own wisdom. They're tuned into their ego mind and tuned out to wisdom. Well, you can't do relationships well if that's the space you're coming from. It's just not possible. Okay? Because the ego mind loves to judge. The ego mind loves to control. The ego mind loves to make things complicated. It loves drama. It loves to be right. Those things aren't so great in the relationship space, are they? They cause an incredible amount of havoc and fear and distortion. So, okay. So when it comes to living from a place of guilt, and so many of us do in the relationship space, you need to understand that guilt is an illusion. Guilt is not real. Guilt is something that creates a lot of confusion. It's almost like, imagine that you're looking through life through the lens of a camera, and guilt makes that lens distorted, fuzzy. You can't see very well. That's what guilt does. And so when your lens is in focus, you see things very, very differently than when guilt's involved and everything's fuzzy and out of focus, and you're trying to make intelligent decisions. You're trying to be emotionally intelligent. You're trying to show up differently through a fuzzy lens, okay? Now, one of the things that you learn through my program Relatable is you learn the difference between a lens that's in focus and a lens that is not. And you understand what's going on in that moment in real time. And so you can adjust accordingly. It makes life much, much, much easier. Most people, without realizing it, are looking at life through a out of focus lens and wondering why life is so hard or there's so much toxicity in their relationships. You got to change the lens first before you do anything. Okay. Now, most people have got no idea of the lens they're looking through. They're too busy looking out here and going, and what I would call outside in. Oh, that's the reason why this happened. That's the reason why I feel this way. I can't help it because they did this or they don't do that. When we look out that way, we miss so much. And this is why we end up repeating. Which brings me back to the question that my client was pondering with me today. If you knew you had a problem and could do something different to improve your life and somebody else's, would you do it? And would you be prepared to do whatever it takes? Now, in my mind, I think that's the most worthwhile pursuit there is in life. Doing whatever we can to improve our lives so we can improve the lives of everybody around us, right? This is unbelievably important. Unbelievably important. And you've got to know the opportunity is there each and every day for you to do that. But it takes courage. It takes being prepared to try something new. It takes being prepared to invest in yourself. But I promise you, it's been the most worthwhile thing I've ever done in my life. I'm totally committed to showing up in the world the way I really want to, so I can impact the people around me in a way that makes a big difference. Because I know how powerful we are. I know what's at stake. And I know it's up to me to get over myself. Something I was very bad at previously. Mike, okay, yes, it makes sense. Changing others' expectations and responses to those changes. So I have found becomes a tricky part if they don't give of themselves and join in the process of that change. What about if it wasn't changing other people's expectations, Mike? What if it had nothing to do with anybody else? What about if it was changing your own expectations? Something for you to think about. Because if you change your own expectations, then you don't need to change anybody else's, right? And as you change this, then you show up very differently. And when you show up differently, people are forced to show up differently in return. They just are. That's just the way energy works. It's the way frequency works. It's the way it all works. Everything is energy. And so when your energy changes, the people who are around you are forced to adjust and bring something else to the table. See, when you're not trying to change somebody else and it's just, and you can see how powerful you are, it's much, much, much easier. Trying to change someone else, that's a nightmare. Incredibly hard. It's exhausting. And it leaves you very, very little choice. Because really, what have you got? When it's about changing someone else, what are the choices? Now, and as far as I'm concerned, I can only see two. Correct me if I'm wrong, if there's more than that. Number one is to try and control the other person. This is how people control people. So someone might come to you and say, oh, I'm not happy with this. Don't you tell me what to do. You're always criticizing me. Why can't you see how hard I'm trying? How dare you say that to me? Or the other way they try and control is, I don't want to talk to you. I'm not talking about this. And they walk away. Oh, forget about it. Leave me alone. That's a form of control. I don't want to deal with this. And what you're really saying to the other person is, you're not worth it. You're not worth dealing with right now. I'm going to pay more attention to how I feel than you. Right? Very controlling. Very controlling. And very aggressive. Right? It's aggressive when we withdraw and it's aggressive when we project. Okay? But this is what I see people do all the time. And again, they don't mean it. I'm not criticizing anybody. I'm just saying this is what I see. There's an innocence in people as well, right? And when you see the innocence in people, it makes it much easier to navigate things. So you've got control or you've got withdrawal. And that is where people literally stop speaking and don't speak for days or weeks on end. I hear this all the time. People who literally stop speaking for days or weeks on end. They stop communicating, they won't speak, and they just do the silent treatment. Again, it's again a form of control. So you've got control or you've got withdrawal. They're the only options you've got when it becomes about changing other people's expectations or behavior. But when you actually see how powerful you are, wow, well, then it's a whole different ballgame. Okay? There's a whole lot more choice on offer there. And it's an amazing journey. Absolutely amazing. And this is what everybody learns, right? This is what I teach people. It's not about controlling others. It's about you learning a whole different way to see life. And when you do that, you organically change. And when you organically change, the people around you notice it. And they have to bring something else to the table. So here's an example of how you might organically change. Someone might project on you and you might have once upon a time found yourself having to explain yourself, justify yourself. And you find yourself in a space where you don't need to do that anymore, where you leave people with their stuff. You can see that someone's projecting. You understand what belongs to you and what belongs to somebody else. And you don't have any desire to get caught up in that. And you have no thinking about it. Your mind is clear. And so you go do something else. And the other person's like, well, hang on. engage with me, argue with me, all of that stuff, right? That makes an unbelievably huge difference. Or maybe you're someone who every time there's a crisis feels like you've got to go in and rescue everyone and fix it. Right? So you jump in and you frantically fix, you frantically try and make everything okay. But you're not present, you're not listening, and you're making it all about you. And I know you don't mean to, but that's what you're doing. What about if all of a sudden that no longer makes sense? You're actually able to hold space. You're actually able to be present. You're actually able to truly listen. You're actually able to have a shared experience instead of oh, you're upset, let me fix it. That's not a shared experience. That's not a shared experience at all. And it actually destroys relationships. People don't need to be fixed. People don't need to be rescued. People don't need to be saved. Unless, okay, they're drowning or they're in a burning building or something like that. But emotionally speaking, that's not what people need. People are looking to evolve. And every time you rescue someone, you rob them of that chance. Okay? And really what you're saying is, I'm not comfortable with you being uncomfortable, so you can be comfortable. Can you hurry and get comfortable so I can be comfortable? That's what you're saying. I know you don't mean to, but that's what you are. So imagine if all of that no longer made sense to you. Didn't make sense. And you're able to easily choose something else. What an amazing difference it would do to your quality of life and the quality of life of everyone around you. This is what's on offer if you're prepared to look. Okay? This is what's on offer. And everything that I teach will help you with all of those things easily, effortlessly, and in a way that will be profound. Profound. So if you want to create change in your relationships, real change, if you want to feel more connected to you, to life, if you want to stop the overthinking, the ruminating, the worrying, the fear, all of that, if you want to change all of that, this is what I teach step by step. It's not hard. And it's a beautiful, beautiful journey. So I'll put the link to Relatable in the comments. If you have any questions at all, feel free to post them below. I hope that this has been helpful for you guys. If you have any questions for me, send me an email to hello@fionalukis.com.au and I'll do my very best to answer them for you next week. Thanks, everybody. See you next Friday. Take care. Ciao. My pleasure, Carol.